Alright guys, good morning. I'm headed to work as usual because it's Monday. Anyways, I want to talk about this real quick, which I know I'm just not going to have a lot of time to talk about, so I probably will make a part 2 on this topic when I get off work. But this is my thoughts for people who, I want to say I've talked about this before, but it might be a now privated video. I think a lot of people don't realize how much faith you have to believe in science. And let me explain. So, I feel like I would say a lot of times I've noticed that someone who's atheist, they use science as basically their belief system. They will tell you, oh, well, science is logical and science is proven and XYZ, right? But science has been wrong a lot, right? A lot of things that science used to say was true has been disproven. Science has been wrong basically a lot of times. And this is just the way I conceptualize it. I think for me, this is just me sharing my thought process. So, if I put my trust into science, who created science? Humans, right? Humans created science to study the world around us. And why did humans have to create a way to study the world around us? Because they didn't know. They didn't understand their own existence. And when I say that, I want people to recognize something. Like, if human beings are the smartest people on the planet and we don't understand our own existence or the world around us, humans can't be that smart. And I'm not saying this in to demean people. I'm just saying your trust in science is you're trusting the quote unquote smartest person on the planet who's come up with whatever new theories we have about the world or the universe. But at the end of the day, you're putting your faith in another person's ability to quote unquote understand the world around us, but they're still using, a lot of theories. They're still using things that scientific theories specifically, in my opinion, are not really evidence-based. The theories about the beginning of the world do not come because the people who created them observed the world, the beginning of the world, right? And if you go back to the scientific practice, right, the first step is supposed to be an observation. What person has observed the beginning of the world? I'll wait. So, what people are assuming or guessing about the beginning of the world is not based off of them actually observing it or knowing it. They're making their best quote-unquote guesses. That's what a scientific theory is, a guess, but it's not a for certain, right? So you can put your trust into that. You can say, well, I believe this person is really smart and therefore they might have a really good guess, but Darwin at one point was considered to be the smartest person, and a lot of his theories have been disproven the more we've learned about genes and DNA and things like that. A lot of Darwin's opinions and thoughts that people once thought were true are being disproven. So my point is really just that if you're trusting science, you're putting your faith in man. You're putting your faith in another person's ability to understand the world around us supposedly better than you can. Because if you haven't studied the evidence yourself, if you haven't observed and done your own studies, you're just trusting what someone else did. And who knows how accurate that someone else study, their what's it called? I guess when you do an experiment, like in a lab. Also, one thing I feel like people don't recognize, and I also feel like sometimes I feel like it seems like some atheists make this assumption that you can't be intellectual and be a Christian or believe in God. Like, there's a lot of Christian scientists, believe it or not. Like, I don't know who told people believing in God means you can't understand science or you can't be intellectual and believe in God. I feel like there's just this assumption a lot of atheists make that, like, you have to maybe be dumb to believe in God, because they don't recognize their own bias in their beliefs about God. But that's just another story or another conversation. So anyways, I've always thought of it that way. Like, if I put my faith in science, or if I trust science, I'm literally just putting my faith in another human's ability to understand the world around us. But I'm just like, that person still doesn't actually know. So if I'm putting my faith in another human being's ability to understand the world around me, who actually also doesn't actually know because they weren't actually there, and they also didn't create the world. And this is the really big part of it. Knowing and understanding creation makes so much of scientific theories impossible. But anyways, I was like, well, I can trust the what science says, but I'm really just putting my faith in another human being. Which, by the way, I'm sure there's people smarter than me who know more about things than me, because I don't spend my life studying the world or things like that. But at the end of the day, it's also been proven multiple times throughout history that a lot of these scientific theories are actually wrong. It's just someone's best guess, but it's not actually the truth. It's not actually certain. So anyways, I can trust that, or reading the Bible, right? And I also think too, like, was God created? Like, is the concept of God created? Because a lot of people will be like, oh, well, someone created God, but then they can't tell you who, or when, or how, or why. And then the reason why, they'll say, like, someone created God so that people will just, what the heck is wrong with these people? People don't know how to freaking merging at the speed of molasses. My goodness. Sorry guys, I'm driving to work, by the way, if you can't tell. But anyways, I'm definitely gonna have to finish my thought process when I get off work, but it's fresh on my mind, so I'm making it now before I forget. So I could say, okay, science is right, and just, believe whatever the current science is at the moment is the truth, even though throughout time it's been wrong or disproven later over and over again. I can believe someone's best guess based on science, and who created science? People. So it's like we're believing our own creation at the end of the day, but we don't have actual knowledge of the beginning of the universe because no one was there to observe it. And the first thing about science is you don't know something if you haven't actually observed it, right? So anyways, that's one side of the issue. And in my opinion, it takes faith to believe science, because someone's best guess is not necessarily truth, and it's also not proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is for certain. And me as a Christian, it's like I can trust another person, or I can trust someone greater than me. So when God introduces himself, the first thing in the Bible, the first 4 words in the Bible are in the beginning God. Those first 4 words in Genesis in the Bible are actually some of the most powerful words you can read, because it's literally telling you, like, the very beginning of everything is God. And people don't recognize, like, what that actually means. And there's 2 sides to this argument I can make. But is the beginning of all things, of everything. God is the beginning. In the beginning, there was God. Like, I don't remember when I started having this, like, questions. I tell people, like, I've had existential crises since I was, like, 12 or 13. Like, I distinctly remember being in, like, my freshman year of high school, like, just thinking about the beginning of the world. And I just remember I got to this point where I couldn't comprehend everything, and I was just like, I can't make sense of this. And like, my brain is limited to understanding certain things, and my brain is limited. Why? Because I didn't exist all the time. I'm a finite being. Oh shoot, I forgot I was supposed to get gas. Well, anyways, I'm a finite human being who doesn't have knowledge of the entire world and everything in it. And it's like, I'm limited to what I can understand. I can intellectually say that and know it's the truth and not sit here and pretend like I have all the answers the way some people do. But anyways, I'm gonna have to do a part 2 because I'm at work. But that's the first part, and then I'll finish the rest, I guess, when I get off work. All right.